Hello everyone, my name is Pixlriffs and welcome back to the Minecraft Survival Guide. I hope you guys are having a good day because I am having a brilliant day just because of this. The iron farm has been doing really well. Now I have been AFKing at this very briefly. Like I probably spent the evening maybe AFKing. Like I went away and had dinner and I came back a couple of hours later and the output of this iron farm is already pretty great. In fact, I already took a bunch of iron from it from when we were building the iron farm itself, and I took that and I made some of that back into blocks. So this isn't even the full output of this thing since yesterday. It has been doing brilliantly, and I kind of want more. I'm getting a bit greedy here, but I kind of want to expand this upwards and try and stack another module of this on top, because I did a bit of testing in my creative test world, and it turns out that if you build another one of these on top, it doesn't quite give you double the iron. Like, I'm talking like 10 blocks up from here, but it gives you about 1.5 times the iron. And I'm not quite sure why that is. It might be something to do with just the proximity of the villagers to other workstations and detecting that there's an iron golem in radius as it falls down or something like that. But theoretically, we should be able to stack these up and get at least 1.5 times the amount of iron we're getting now, and probably even more than that as you go further up the chain. So what I'm planning here is to build, what I was calling it yesterday was the Iron Tower, and that's sort of what I want to go with. I want to create an additional level to this farm, at least, and possibly even a third one above that we can use to generate more and more iron, because as we go through this world, as we go through the progression of like the stuff I want to do, the projects I want to execute on, I'm needing more and more iron. Just think of the amount of hoppers that went into something like the concrete farm storage section over there, and that's a lot of iron. and so having a long-term supply of iron like this is going to be really helpful. And if we can increase the output to something a little bit faster, so much the better as far as I'm concerned. Like, I'm still not going for absolute overkill, but I am going for something a little bit higher output. And so today, I'm not only going to try and build an additional couple of modules for this, I think we might also have a shot at decorating this, because as you can see right now, it ain't exactly a pretty thing. Like, it's beautiful in terms of its technical prowess, its construction, you know, the testament that it is to the mechanics of Minecraft, but it's not very pretty aesthetically speaking. And the problem with it is you can't really build in too close proximity to the villager cells here, because they will start to generate iron golems on top of any nearby blocks which are spawnable for iron golems, which, as we've seen before, there's quite a loose definition of that. I've had to put slabs or potentially carpet over the top of some of these workstations here because that prevents golems from spawning there. In testing, I even had a couple of golems spawning on top of the workstations, so just lighting them up is not necessarily going to work. Of course, iron golems being utility mobs, they don't kind of conform to the same hostile mob spawning rules in terms of light level and stuff. But what I'm going to try and do around the outside of here, once we've established a couple more modules of the iron farm, is to create something that is going to either be spawn-proofed from iron golems or is going to be far enough away. We could potentially, you know, expand the radius of it to cover a little bit of this river, for example, and try and build something to surround this to make it look a little bit more aesthetically pleasing than just a couple of villager cells and a platform suspended in the sky like this. I really feel like we could do something aesthetically that will improve the whole look of this. But as far as performance goes, it is performing very well. And since you've already seen me build the Iron Farm module once, I won't go into the full process of doing that a second time, because that would just be repeating what we did yesterday. But I did want to mention that I am going to take down this villager breeder as well, and I'm going to use the villagers from here in the iron farm, mainly because right now a lot of those are unemployed villagers who we haven't traded with before, and that makes them perfect for the iron farm because they can adopt new professions instead of us having to use the profession blocks that are linked to, say, that guy in there being a Fletcher, for example. I think we saw a Fletcher in there a minute ago anyway. And we've got plenty of villagers here that we can move around. I am going to use bubble columns this time to transport them vertically. I feel like that's a little bit of a better solution than using minecarts in the way we did with the original iron farm, but that iron farm can come down as well. Our test iron farm, where I was just demonstrating the mechanics of 1.14, can come down as well, and we can give this place a little bit more of a tidy up in preparation for something I'm going to do in the near future, which is probably build a new villager breeder, one that suits the mechanics of 1.14 villager breeding a little better. and sort out this trading hall. If not release all of these villagers, then at the very least create a new trading hall somewhere else which has 1.14.4 villagers in it, because there have been changes in the 1.14.4 update that mean new villagers will stock trades more frequently. Basically, they will have a larger number of items to trade before a trade locks up, and I'm pretty sure that they refresh their trades more frequently as well, at least judging by the amount of workstation noise I've heard from the modules of the Iron Farm. But that only seems to be the case with villagers who have acquired a profession in 1.14.4. And unfortunately, we've traded with all of these villagers before, some of them even before the 1.14 update itself. So a lot of them aren't going to have that benefit. The villager programming, like the way they trade and everything, seems to carry over from version to version. So we're going to need to start from scratch with brand new villagers in order to make that happen. And I don't want to just kill all of these guys because I feel really bad about that. So I think what we're going to do is establish another trading hall, maybe somewhere else, and have a crack at trading in 1.14.4. But we're going to do that later in the week. For now, I'm going to carry on and get some more modules of the Iron Farm built. And I'm going to cut away for that because you guys have seen it all before. We're going to come back once we've got more of that built, and then we should have a go at building a tower around it. Hey folks, welcome back. So this thing is kind of a monstrosity now. It's a little bit absurd, but with 3 platforms, all with zombies and villagers in place, there's almost always a golem either falling or dying in the lava, and this thing should be producing iron by the bucket load at this point. There are 12 blocks in between each kind of composter and stuff. Like, I've tried and laid it out basically the same on each floor using fletching tables, simply because when you right click on them they don't have a GUI or anything, so they were nice and easy to place slabs on and place the stuff around without having to click out of inventory or crouch or anything like that. And yeah, so we have a farmer and 2 fletchers in each of these cells, a zombie there, and it all went pretty smoothly. Had a little bit of trouble getting the villagers up there because they kind of have a mind of their own. But the zombies were kind of the funny thing. I really wish I'd been recording it at the time, because zombie sieges have recently been re-added to the game after they were bugged for a while. And what happens is, at night, there is a small random chance for zombies in large numbers to appear. Look at this thing. It's dropping golems left and right. There is a small chance for a bunch of zombies to appear close to the boundary of a village and kind of walk into the village and attack, and that is called a zombie siege. And I haven't really covered them in the series before because they didn't really happen all that much, but I was walking over here trying to look for zombies, and then suddenly 10 of them all spawned around here. So that guy in the middle there is actually from the zombie siege, but unfortunately I didn't have my recording software set up. I was just kind of doing this casually, so I missed that. What I didn't miss is getting that last guy up there, and that guy is holding a rail because I was using minecarts to transport them up there. I didn't really want to go with the minecart and then the water stream for the zombies because I kind of wanted to keep them in the minecart for the whole process. So I made a staircase up there, and as soon as I had got him up to the top of that minecart staircase without any blocks surrounding that top platform there where the zombie is sat in the cauldron, the villagers immediately leapt out of bed, spawned a couple of golems, and the golems were falling down and getting stuck on the rail platform. One of them, thankfully this thing was only 2 blocks high from where the golem was standing, because one of them was actually trying to get in there and kill one of the other zombies, and so I had to deal with them individually, just kind of nudging them off the ledges and stuff like that. But now this thing is going great guns, and even in the time it's taken me to set up 2 more spawning platforms in here, we have nearly basically 3 full stacks of iron blocks. We've got 18 stacks there. We've almost got a 3rd row filling up, so that's almost 27 stacks. The golems are still dropping, and this whole thing is going to be an absolute monstrosity. It's going to be so good having this around for all of the iron-intensive projects we're going to need in future, for beacons, for hoppers, for all kinds of stuff like that. Now comes the question of decorating this whole thing, because as you'll see from a distance, if we go over to, say, this side of the farmhouse and have a look, it's pretty tall. It's obviously not as tall as the original Iron Farm was, but there is still room to decorate this into something pretty large. I've done a little bit of research into exactly where the villagers will spawn a golem, the radius in which they will spawn golems, and it turns out that there is a little bit of weird mathematics involved. They basically can generate a golem 5 blocks above them, 5 blocks below them, or depending on whether it's a negative or positive direction. So right now we're looking towards negative Z, and right there we're looking towards positive X. The positive directions, I believe, get 7 blocks, and the negative directions get 8 blocks in which they can spawn a golem. So across the board, we're going to go 8 blocks away from any of the villager holding cells, just to make sure that if we're using solid blocks, a golem doesn't have a chance to spawn on them. We need to be at least 8 blocks away. So that means this structure is actually going to be quite large. If we're building a shell around the outside of this farm, it's going to be a pretty big construction if we want to keep everything 8 blocks away from the villager cell at all times. So if we want to build circular towers around the outside of this, it's going to be an 8-block radius for the circle. So at least 16 blocks, 17 blocks in diameter, really, if you count the central block there as well. And I don't know if I want to build something circular or not. I feel like maybe building something more square and a little bit blockier is going to work out better. But we need to come up with some sort of design for the iron tower. And I don't know if I want to build something with circles in it, considering how many circles I've been building recently. I feel like going back to something designed a little bit differently, but this thing is going to be called the iron tower. It needs to have an exterior that lives up to that name. So, I don't know, I need to go into a bit of a design mode now. I've been in technical mode for the rest of this. We've got the whole thing put together, and now we need to design something that looks epic. Having done a little bit of measuring now, I've got these logs positioned around the outside of where I think the boundary for each of these spawnable spaces is going to be. So anywhere we've got these lines of stone brick there, probably going to about the middle, and I think overlapping, because these villages are only 5 blocks out from the central block here. Each of these stone brick sections would potentially be spawnable space. So if you imagine a circle around the outside of here and a circle around the outside of there, probably overlapping a little bit in the center like a Venn diagram, we would have an outer limit of the space that we could build something before. If we build inside that, it potentially presents spawnable space for a golem. Having said that, of course, spawnable space does require a full block, or at least something that has a top surface to the block that's equivalent to a full block. So for example, if we placed a slab, like a top half slab there, that technically counts as a top half surface that something could spawn on. But if we put a bottom half slab a little bit further in, then chances are it wouldn't be able to spawn there. Having said that, of course, there are some quirks to this, and golems have been shown to spawn in some unorthodox places. So potentially we could end up seeing a couple of weird golem spawns. I think a couple of other people have even said that they found golems spawning on their trap doors in this farm, and personally I haven't had that problem, but you never know, we might need to add a carpet to the trap doors as well, potentially. But what I think we could do with this structure is add circles around it at first, but then add some external ornaments to it, which could potentially be more squared off and kind of go with a more interesting geometrical shape. And oh, looks like one of them actually got stuck on the outside there. So I'm considering widening out this platform just a little bit to account for the golems that pathfind off the edge, because occasionally they will get fixated on a zombie like this. So maybe we need to widen out the water trough slightly. That might resolve this problem if we just do it 1 block on each side. But right now, I have been going over here and manually nudging the golems in, so we might occasionally have to do this once or twice, but for the most part I haven't seen any other technical hitches with this farm. It seems to be pretty solid, pretty reliable. So I'm going to empty my inventory out into a chest over here with all of the building supplies that I brought over. I'll probably go and grab a bit of other stuff from the storage unit as we need it, but I'm going to use the space in my inventory now to clear out this entire chest here so that we can actually benchmark the farm and see how much iron we're getting, because my word, we've got a lot of poppies here as well, and I'm definitely going to have to install a composter later in this episode as well, I think. But we'll turn all of these into blocks of iron. That's already, yeah, like 3 stacks of blocks of iron with the rest of the iron that's in this chest here. And once I start building, I'm just going to start an hour timer, and we're going to time this for an hour. We'll probably let the time-lapse roll a little bit longer if we need to, but I'm going to check the chest after an hour has passed, and we'll see quite how well we get on. But I think for the building process of this, considering I'm winging it a little bit, it might be better to do it in the form of a time-lapse. So I'm going to get on and do that, and I'll see you guys on the other side. Welcome back, folks. I hope you enjoyed the time-lapse. I just wasn't able to get this build finished. Unfortunately, I'm running out of time for today's episode, and this took a while and is still very much in the early stages of getting it put together and getting it the way I want it to be. There were a few problems in the process as well because, yeah, the golems kind of have a mind of their own about where exactly they want to spawn, and I have had to do some pretty intensive spawn proofing of this whole area, really. Like, it's funny that I don't know if I just didn't measure it correctly or what, but there were golems spawning around here, and I feel like maybe the radius as far as the villagers go might be a little bit more square than I figured, because I was finding them spawning even on the log blocks over here once I started. Oh, yeah, that's another thing. I didn't realize we would be getting snow up here, so I might have to sleep this one off. But yeah, as I was saying, I was getting stuff spawning on the log blocks around here, and so, you know, out of necessity rather than out of a sense of design, I added some stairs to the top of this section of the tower, which, you know, in the grand scheme of things probably won't look all that bad. But we even did have a couple of instances, and I can, you know, account for this anecdotally now instead of just, you know, as hearsay. I did find a couple of times that the golems were spawning up there. I did add a slab to the back of this one, which didn't have a slab on there, and we got a golem spawning up there. But on occasion, they do seem to spawn on or around the trapdoors. So it might be the case that I have to add a carpet on top of there. I don't know for certain if that's going to impact the villagers' line of sight, or if that's going to be okay, because it's a bit of an angle to actually get them to see the zombie in the first place. But that's not really all that important at this stage. We're hopefully going to be able to get by, and let's face it, the farm has been incredibly productive. I don't have any kind of formal entrance for it yet. I have just been wandering in here, but before I check the chest for the final time this episode, I will show you the results of 1 hour of AFK time, because I took a screenshot so that I could just continue with the time-lapse, but that right there is about 830 iron. So, given that I had a little bit of an issue where I ended up widening out this channel and breaking one of the lava sources, had to go and refill the lava and stuff like that, that might have slowed down the farm a little bit. I reckon that we're getting about 850 iron out of this, so maybe 900 maximum, which is pretty great. That's 300 iron from each of these 2 villager cells. If you imagine just one cell with villagers can probably get you 150 iron by that mathematics, that is way, way faster than iron farms used to be. So let's come down here and let's take a look at the output chest now. Oh yes, we have got another 3 stacks of iron blocks just in the time it's taken me to record that time-lapse. That is sensational. That is a phenomenal amount of iron output for what is a relatively straightforward farm to build. Took a little bit of wrangling to get the villagers and the zombies in there, but the golems are flowing constantly. And with this being built in the spawn chunks, the iron tower is going to mean that we never have to run out of iron again, and I am very, very happy about that fact. But unfortunately, in the interests of time and getting this episode out to you guys on schedule, that is going to be it for this episode of the Minecraft Survival Guide. Thank you so much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to leave a like on this video if you enjoyed, subscribe if you want to see more, and I will see you guys soon. Take care. Bye for now.